This is the sex topic, right? This comes up all the time in marital therapy. What do people fight about? Fight about money, they fight about sex, right? It's an issue for couples to figure out how to navigate sexuality in a healthy way, especially in a way that honors God.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, welcome to A Better Us, and welcome to our home. We're glad you're here.
And here in our home, one of my favorite rooms is my workshop. I have my pegboard all organized where I hang my favorite tools, and my workbench that's a lot less organized with a few more tools laying around and a bunch of little plastic drawers with every kind of nut, bolt, and screw I might ever need.
You know what? He doesn't like throwing stuff away because you never know when you might need that old doorknob you replaced 10 years ago.
That's for sure. I'm glad you're seeing it my way, hon.
Yeah. And I know if you had your workshop bigger, you might just bring all of the guys from A Better Us here with all the cameras and the lights and that and start taping segments here.
Yeah, maybe I just need a much bigger one at the house, but in any case, I found a much bigger workshop, one that'll work better for our guys. So coming up, Psychologist Dr. Mike joins us for a little home improvement talk. This time our topic is rekindling the spark. That's right, we're talking romance and sex.
You're really going to go there, are you?
Yep, we are.
Well, I can't wait to watch that.
So stay with us because that and a lot more is coming right up. Hey, welcome to the workshop with the guys of A Better Us. Hey, we're talking home improvement here, guys. We've got Eric Maines, we've got Dan McCauley, we've got Mike Pinball Clemens, of course, and joining us, Psychologist Dr. Mike Ronsisvalle. You know him from On the Beach with Dr. Mike on A Better Us. Great to have you here in the workshop with us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, every relationship needs a little renovation, but getting together with guys, it's not a typical thing to talk about relationships, right? And to talk about feelings and romance. We like to talk about sports, maybe our tools, our tool collection, maybe fishing or whatever it is. But so
chicken wings and steaks. And,
yeah, there we go. Food. Eric's thinking food. I get it. So, Dr. Mike, thank you for helping us focus where we need to have it here in the workshop. And so let's jump into the topic you have for us today.
All right, so every guy watching this segment right now, you need to stop, press pause if you can, go get your wife, because we're talking about a topic that you're going to want to talk about, right? This is the sex topic, right? This comes up all the time in marital therapy. What do people fight about? Fight about money, they fight about sex, right? It's an issue for couples to figure out how to navigate sexuality in a healthy way, especially in a way that honors God. So I want to start with just a neurological reality. The brain responds differently to novel stimuli. That's just reality. So the first time that we had sex with our wives, it was brand new, right? And so that activates this part of the brain. And man, when that novel sexual stimuli, it just pours dopamine into your brain. And dopamine is the feel-good principle, right? The chemical. So man, it's fantastic. Yeah. But as you get exposure to the same stimuli over time, the neurological stimulation goes down. There's not as much dopamine. So I think I love chocolate chip cookies. Since I'm a little kid, I love chocolate chip cookies, and I would eat them every day. Like I remember eating chocolate chip cookies, pinball, for every day for probably 25, 30 years of my life, every day.
Wow.
Right?
That's a good streak.
Oh, it was awesome. It's a sweet streak. And when I would eat them, I loved them. They were great, but they were just part of my life. I stopped eating cookies for the most part, maybe 15 years ago. Now I eat chocolate chip cookies about once every quarter, like 4 times a year maybe. And dude, when I eat a chocolate chip cookie now, it's not like it's no big deal. It is like, this is amazing. It's awesome, right? There's a ton of dopamine. And the metaphor there is sexually, people feel like something's wrong in their marriage if they feel like this sexual sort of excitement starts to sort of like dwindle as you go forward in a marriage. And you
So to be clear, you're not telling us to have sex quarterly.
It's not what I'm saying.
Just checking.
It's not what I'm saying. That would,
You might have lost some
yeah,
guys.
every
I'm
guy
saying.
just turned the TV off.
All right, forget about this.
What I'm saying is, people think something's wrong if that intense emotion sexually isn't there 30 years into their marriage, when the truth is that's just a neurological reality. So what do we do to kind of maintain that spark? That's the question. I have some ideas, and then I want to throw it out to you guys. If novelty is what the brain is craving, then honestly, guys, we've got to kind of mix it up sexually. Like, guys, look, we know how this is. We want to sit on the couch in our boxer shorts with like a torn shirt, you know, like just binging on Netflix. And then when we're ready, say, all right, it's time to have sex. That's not novelty. Let's put it that way. There's nothing.
Probably don't smell very good at that point.
Look, that's a novelty you don't want. So we got to mix it up, like romance your wife, right? Like you're going to get your wife much more interested in sexuality. That spark is going to come back if you're taking her to do the fun things, if you're going on walks, if you're taking her to a nice dinner. That's where sex starts. Sex starts walking down the street with your wife when you're holding her hand. Like that's the first sexual act that ends in like a pretty hot monogamy later on that night.
Okay, well, who's going to jump in on this one? Well, here's a hot topic for you.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll jump right in, and one thing is just to honor milestones. Yeah. Right. So we have birthdays, right, and anniversaries and all of those things, and we can do something. We can sort of buy a gift, and we kind of do, but why not go crazy on those days? Right, and the X part, the sex part, that just follows it, right? It becomes a part of it because you love your bride, and sometimes it's not how much you spend. Often, as a matter of fact, not how much you spend, right? But the work that went in, the ideology behind it, right? I remember younger doing these different things with the kids, right? When we had these days, we put gifts all the way around the house. They put one in the washing machine, and then another one, then something else outside, and it would be this hunt, right? And so as we keep life fresh, right, and we are intentional about marriage, right, and building the relationship, not just what comes with that, right, but be excited about building the relationship, doing those little things where we make sure that we make time, right, to do something that is more than the ordinary.
That's good. I heard at a marriage seminar, the teacher was saying, now you need to really understand what's important to your wife, and it leaned to the guy. He says, in fact, what is your wife? What's her favorite flower? And so he thought about it and leaned to his wife and said, it's Pillsbury all-purpose, isn't it? Anyway, so he was a little bit clueless. Yeah. But yeah, we need to have that spark. We need to know what's important to our spouse, and those little things can be really important. In fact, I brought an illustration here. We're in the workshop, right? This is what I've used to do some plumbing. All right, and so you might have the gas on, but it doesn't do anything until you have that little spark,
there
right?
We go.
Woo! And then things can heat up. But what does the spark? Sometimes it's just those little things, just a little spark. Yes. You do something, you send a text during the day maybe it's a phone call, you stay in touch. If they know you're thinking about, if your wife knows you're thinking about her when you're not together, I think that's an important thing for romance, right?
Yeah, I think we have these memories of back when we were younger, and the dating and all the spark that was there. It's not really always a fair comparison, because we're not even really showing our true selves at that point when we're dating, right? They say the true test of romance or whatever, it's not the first kiss, it's the first fart. It's the first time that you're willing to be that real with your spouse, that you to be held like a fart on a first date, that we hold back the true reality of who we really are.
This is novel. I gotta give this. This is novel.
It also stinks.
But then the monotony and the realness and the boxers with the torn shirt and all that come in. So finding ways to be creative. I've thought about why not recreate one of those first dates? Why not go parking somewhere where you once parked, and kind of put on that same music and remember some of those old feelings, and stir up some of those old things, or do something completely new, that you've never done. The novelty, you can kind of regain some of those old feelings, or create something new. And the other thing I think, especially in the context of marriage, because we're in it for the long haul here, is it's like this myth that sex has to be like on 10 sexiness, where everything's crazy or whatever all the time. Life's just not like that. And I think we need to accept to some degree that there's an ebb and flow. There are seasons in sex, and it's okay if it's not like on level 10 all the time. There's an ebb and flow, and I'm not saying just take whatever and toss in the towel on trying, but I'm saying there's going to be an ebb and flow, and there's going to be some times where it's just it is what it is.
Yeah, and a lot of those ebbs, there's some really good excuses that you can put in place, saying, you know what, I can't be romantic with you here because, well, for example, we have a 7-month-old baby boy sleeping in our bedroom who wakes us up every once in a while, and yeah, he's right there. And but Kara and I, so in preparation for this topic, Kara and I were talking, and we realized how many excuses we actually have when it comes to romance, like going on dates. We're always just like, hey, well, we have young kids right now. Like we have 3 kids, age 4 and under, and so we're like, oh, so it's too busy right now. We'll do that in the next season. But then we kind of thought about it. We sat there and we're like, there's going to be just as many excuses in the next season as well. We need to figure out where our priorities are, and between us, our romance, that spark, that needs to be a higher priority than the 3 hours I spent on my phone, going through Instagram Reels or anything like that. So we aren't good at this right now, but we're setting priorities to make this a habit.
It's funny, Eric, because what you're talking about is just sort of setting structure to the spark and to the romance. And so it's a balancing act, right? Because you need that, especially where you guys are at, man. Y'all are getting bombarded with kids and responsibilities. So just saying, hey, we're going to do something that is romantic or sexual on Friday nights, come hell or high water. That's happening, right? So you balance that with, we also have to do the novel stuff, the new stuff, the exciting stuff. I do want to say, in addition to dopamine, another chemical that's released in your brain with romance and even sexuality is oxytocin. Oxytocin is that connection chemical, right? And as we age and we get older, the dopamine goes down, but the oxytocin can go up. In the Bible, when people, the Bible is describing the Old Testament like sexual relations or whatever, it never said, and they had crazy sex. That's not what it says, does it? It says, and he knew her. How powerful is that, man, to think that, okay, wait, beyond the pornographied understanding of what sexuality is that our culture just bombards us with, there's something much deeper here that we're pursuing. It's that deep knowing, that vulnerable state to say, okay, God, you're God's gift to me, and I value you. And this sexuality, this spark is something that just you and I share. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It can just be close and intimate and deep. And man, the depth of that connection is the beauty of a Christian marriage for sure.
That's why you're Dr. Mike and I'm just Mike. So I was going to say that, really asking her what she likes, what she enjoys, right? Because that changes over time as well, right? You know, their wants and their needs, and so, but really communicating and understanding each other's desires, right?
The couples that talk about sex have better sex.
Yes.
And I love to challenge guys to say, you know, when you wake up in the morning, one of the first things on your mind can be, what one thing can I say or do to my wife, for my wife today, that will let her know that I'd marry her all over again and that she's still the one. And so just think about that and what, at least one thing that will do that. And not that it's your motive, but that will have those repercussions in the bedroom, because she will, that's her big need, is to have that sense of security in the relationship. But do something just to bless the socks off her, and you know, that's romance to her, just to say what can I say or do because I know her, or I need to study her a little better to see what are the things that really she loves, and do those things and see what happens. Love it. Good discussion, guys. All right. Stay with us. More A Better Us to come. It's been great in the workshop here.
How many times have you found yourself in situations where your behavior just simply does not reflect your value systems? Psychologists call this the value-action gap. And in many ways, it's part of the human experience. It's part of what happens to us, guys. Here's just a few examples of how the values-action gap plays out in the details of our life. You ready?
Hi, Ron and Ann here, and thank you for your interest in A Better Us.
Today, more than ever, we all agree there's a vital need to protect and strengthen marriages and families.
You know, that's our goal through our A Better Us media ministry, live events, quality resources, and personal marriage coaching.
We want to inspire and equip couples everywhere toward a healthy, Christ-centered marriage.
A Better Us is a production of a nonprofit charity that we lead, and as we all know, it takes a team to get the job done.
And we need you to be a part of our team in order to sustain and grow this ministry.
The best way you can help us is by joining our monthly partnership program.
$35 a month will make a big difference in providing hope for many marriages. Simply visit abetterus.tv today and click donate.
Yeah. And when you sign up monthly, we'll send you 2 of our A Better Us coffee mugs to say thanks.
Most of all, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that your investment is strengthening marriages and families around the world.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm doing something right.
I believed too much in the quote-unquote Hollywood version of marriage, that even though you can be in love with someone, that doesn't mean that you won't have conflict and you won't have disagreements and you won't see things the same. And that it's important to learn each other's, not just your love language, but how you fight, how you work things out together, so that way it doesn't become totally disappointing and frustrating and now you feel like the marriage is over. But you realize that confrontation and disagreement is part of the building of a strong marriage.
I would say to my newlywed self, great choice. You got God's best for you. You know, at that time, I kind of had a list of things that I was looking for that I wanted, but the great thing that I would tell myself back then is that you're not just getting what you want, but you're getting what you're going to need later. And Rob has turned out to be just the perfect companion, the perfect partner, the perfect husband. And I know that sounds crazy for me to say it, but I would tell her, you got the right guy.
When we first got married, we lived only a short distance away, and she was working shift work, and she would come home, and I'd be at Mom's place, you know, Mommy's boy. And I love Mom's cooking, and just loved hanging out there. And so I would be up there, and of course she wanted to come home to me. It was our home. And just being more intentional about leaving and cleaving. You can't kind of do one without the other, right? In order to cleave to your wife, you have to leave something right behind. And not that I would have to totally leave it, but I had to be more intentional about being there for her, letting her know she was number one. Yeah, so that is very important. So
Care less.
kind of a general to everything, but specifically in a marriage relationship, care less about a lot of the little things. I think when you're with somebody for a long time and you get comfortable, you're used to marriage and living with each other now, that you start to nitpick about whether it's the towel on the floor or the dishes aren't done in the right way. Like, not that you would apply it to every part of your life necessarily, but there are certain areas where I do think it's important for us to care less, because in the big picture, they're not that important.
Stay connected with us online. Visit abetterus.tv to watch full episodes, find marriage resources, and subscribe free to your weekly Marriage Moment emails. Browse our YouTube channel with over 500 videos on various marriage topics and share them with family and friends. And of course, hit that subscribe button. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram for daily messages that inspire a healthy, lifelong relationship. So be sure to connect online in your journey toward a better us.
How many times have you found yourself in situations where your behavior just simply does not reflect your value systems? Psychologists call this the value-action gap. And in many ways, it's part of the human experience. It's part of what happens to us, guys. Here's just a few examples of how the values-action gap plays out in the details of our life. You ready? Many people would say they highly value honesty. I tell the truth, I'm a truth teller. Yet they find themselves often lying to protect themselves or their interests. Other people say, man, I believe in exercise, I believe in healthy living, yet they haven't exercised in years, right? Some people would say, man, I believe with everything that's in me that pornography is just a destructive force in this world. It's bad. It's just not a good thing. Yet they end up looking at pornography consistently, over and over again. A lot of people watching would say, I agree, drinking heavily, not a good idea. Yet they find themselves over and over again, kind of over-serving and over-indulging themselves. And we probably all agree that it's important to respect people and give them dignity. Yet, how many times have you fired off a pretty mean tweet or comment on social media? My point is, these are all value actions gap, where our behavior, our actions are not consistent with our values. The Apostle Paul talked about this. Remember him? I mean, we often do what we don't want to do, and then we don't do what we want to do. That's part of living down on this earth. But if we're willing to be intellectually honest, we all have moments where our behavior just doesn't align with our value system. And unfortunately, the consequences of these choices can be devastating to our marriages in particular. Even if our incongruent behavior doesn't have difficult consequences in the moment, when we're behaving in ways that are inconsistent with our value system, it's a matter of time until we feel inauthentic, disingenuous, discontent, and honestly, just unhappy. The inverse is true as well, right? When we have alignment between our core values and the choices that we make, we tend to feel happier. We are connected to our meaning and our purpose. And many times we're more equipped to solve the problems that come at us and solve the issues that we deal with every day. So if you're tired of living a life that feels inauthentic and dealing with the consequences and anxiety created by the values action gap, here's a plan to help you live out your values in a consistent way. You ready? Number one, commit to honest self-appraisal. I mean, that's huge. You just have to start with brutal honesty with yourself. You can't view yourself through the lens that is just filtered and unrealistic. Deeply allow yourself to be vulnerable and honest with the truth, the real truth. Number two, identify your values. Think back over your life and write out a timeline of all the significant experiences that you've had from childhood to the present. Just get a piece of paper and write it out. What moments have you thought, man, these were incredible lessons that I learned in my life? Make sure to include the good stuff. Make sure to include the bad stuff. Make sure to include the ugly stuff, right? We're being honest here. We're being open. What's been deeply rewarding? What makes you feel happy passionate, like you're like totally fully alive? What has been terribly traumatic and difficult? Next, look at your timeline, and I want you to try to pick out themes. And I really want you to say, can I pick out the themes that seem to be the most important? Put a little asterisk next to them. And it might come down to just like words like kindness is important, or I'm faith driven. Other times might be just more of like a little bit more specific. I highly value adventure, or I value when I have integrity under pressure, or I love to work hard and perform well. Now I want you to look at your list of highly valued and impactful experiences and acknowledge to yourself, you've just identified your values. All your little asterisks that you have next, that's your values. Now, if you look at your whole timeline, you're going to find there's lots of experiences that you had that are not on your list of like highly valued, right? There's no asterisks next to them, right? They either didn't get an asterisk because they were not core to your sense of self, or they were the kind of experience that you just don't want to replicate. You don't even want to remember, right? And my hunch is that many of those experiences relate to moments where you acted in ways that were probably diametrically opposed to the things that you value. These experiences are probably the operational definition of your value action gap. Now, the final thing I want you to do is commit to alignment. Commit to alignment. This is the hard part, right? The real challenge is learning to embrace your core values in such a way that they become a part of your everyday life. Our goal here is to create a life that's in sync and that's aligned. And that only happens when you're willing to be very intentional about the decisions you make minute by minute, moment by moment. And it happens in the battleground of your mind. But if you're willing to work at aligning your behavior with your core values, you'll find that you ultimately create a life that's full of richness and full of beauty. And my encouragement to you is don't do this on your own. This is not a natural human thing to do. This can happen if the power of the Holy Spirit invades your mind and your heart, and you just say, God, I want to live a life that's worthy of this calling. I want to live a life that's an act of sacrifice as unto you. And man, I'm going to commit to it. I'm not going to do it perfectly, but I'm going to commit to it. In my mind, that's the person that I am. That's my value system. That defines me. And guys, if you do that, more than likely, you'll find that this alignment deeply impacts your ability to be authentic in your most important relationship on this earth, your marriage.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann Maines here, and we are so glad you're with us here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
And we pray God's blessing on your marriage as you take this in.
And be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
And enjoy this video. Thanks for being with us today as we considered some areas that can help us to become a better us.
We started off with us guys in the workshop looking at one very important area for home improvement, physical intimacy. And we learned from psychologist Dr. Mike that one of the best ways to rekindle the spark is through just little romantic gestures throughout the day that let your wife know that you cherish her and are thinking about her. Even just a quick text or a phone call can go a long way, right?
Absolutely, because that's relationship gold for us. And it gives us that much needed sense of security, which actually ranks as one of our greatest needs as women. And then Dr. Mike was on the beach sharing some thoughts about closing the gap between our values and our actions.
They can so easily get out of alignment, can't they? Because we know what's important to do, but we often fall short of actually doing it. It's really just part of being human, isn't it? Especially when we try to live up to a certain standard in our own strength.
As Dr. Mike said, our human willpower alone is not enough. And he pointed us to a power source in God that we can actually tap into to help us achieve that kind of integrity, that alignment with the values that we hold dear.
Right. Once we've invited Jesus into our life and surrendered our heart and our will to Him, His Spirit empowers us in the battlefield of our mind as we strive to do what we know is right. And as Dr. Mike concluded, This will deeply impact your ability to be truly authentic in your most important relationship on this earth, your marriage.
If you have questions about what it means to surrender your life to Jesus, or if you'd just like someone to pray with you about whatever it is you're dealing with, please call our 24/7 prayer line. You'll be glad you did.
You may also want to check out further encouragement and resources available on our website.
Well, thanks again for stopping by. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage even better.
Right. And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here. So keep exploring.
Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way all the time.